Oh man, you started it, brother. Like you put your thumbprint in this industry, which is a huge thing, man. Because like
Here we are, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to One Drink With. Today's episode is One Drink With Zack Prohaska. Cocktails and Dreams internet sensation. He's all over the place. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for Zack Prohaska.
what's going on? How you doing, buddy?
Very good. That's the Zoom applause, isn't it?
Yeah, it's the Zoom life is now. It's either thumbs up or it's one of these. Hey, it's such a weird world we live in.
Zoom applause. Yay! I think that's actually sign language for applause, I think. I'm doing very good. Thank you very much for asking. How have you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just working and trying to get through this whole COVID-19 lifestyle. Hey, waiting for the world to open back up and make some cocktails for real people and not just for myself in front of a computer screen. Hey.
Right. How many Zoom calls have you been doing, especially over Christmas and whatnot?
Oh, man. I was really surprised when it came to around Christmas time. Hey, the virtual event scene is definitely a thing. Hey, so like I do events all the time. That's one of my main sources of business is staff events, next level bartending experience for people's guests.
And pre-COVID, you would be packing up some Flair bars and boxes of supplies and traveling across the city through traffic and snow and setting this up for events, right?
Exactly, man. Like bringing everything from syrups to, just like you said, bars, everything. Working working, anywhere between an hour, which is great, to like an 8-hour shift for me and the people that I would send. Wow. But now that I'm in virtual, man, by the time it would take me to load up one of the bars and get everything into the car, I'm done an event, and it's weird. It came out of nowhere, and December got really busy for me. I was working pretty much every day, sometimes 3 or 4 times a day, which is not real hard work because the average event was like 30 to 40 minutes.
Right.
But it was definitely a switch, but I enjoy it, man. It was weird in the beginning, but now you kind of have that virtual feeling of people sitting at your bar. You can talk to them, you can show off a little bit. They're making drinks, you're making drinks. Right. You can joke around. It was a bit of an adjustment, but I don't mind it, to be quite honest.
That's so cool. It's such a, like you said, it's so interesting, a different perspective of having guests at your bar.
Yeah, and I didn't think it was going to be like this. Like when I first heard about the virtual event and virtual bartending, I just didn't really I was like, yeah, okay, whatever, we'll give it a try. And then we tried it once, and then I was like, okay, that was actually kind of fun. And then it just started to snowball. And then it was like bartending. It was like having your own personal bartender at home, and they're making the same cocktails as you are. It was great. It's been a lot of fun. And to be honest, I'm hoping that it continues, right? I think it will for a while anyways, but at least our avenue, right? So, but
Tom Dyer last week was like, I'm bartending in my socks.
I'm in jogging pants. Sometimes I show up in shorts, and up top I look semi-professional, but behind the apron, you don't know what's going on in.
Like a kilt, right?
Exactly.
All right, it's one drink with, so we have to get a drink on. The whole premise of the show is like we're having a drink after work. It's the end of the shift. We're gonna have a cocktail before we go home, and we'll just chit chat about that. So what drink can you share with us today?
Well, I was gonna do just something basic with a coffee whiskey. Sorry, coffee whiskey. How many coffees have I had? A coffee whiskey and coffee. But I might go a little bit. I might make myself a margarita or something nice and easy as a little bit of a sipper.
Right.
What I'm going to use is obviously this good old guy, good old Terramana.
Good stuff. And I'm going to make a what I call the chocolate mana. It's my chocolate old fashioned made with Terramana as well. So let's just make a drink together, and we don't need to describe it too much. We'll just start pouring and get on with our conversation.
Right on.
So I'm using the aged Terramana today, of course.
Right on. I'm just using the silver.
Oh, that's a lot. It'll do. A couple of dashes of chocolate bitters. You got your Flair on over there?
Now I'm just doing standard. I'm not doing any triple sec. I just want tequila. Hey.
Not showing off for me today?
What's that?
You're not showing off for me today?
What do you mean? I'm not showing off. You do everything I do much better than I do. So.
No way, man.
I don't know how to do this stuff. I'm looking right at him, hey.
How long you been on the bar, sir?
I've been bartending now for 20 years. Flair bartending for 16. Yeah, man, it's been a while, eh? It's definitely been a while. But I love it, man. I enjoy the business. I enjoy the people. I enjoy the experiences. I enjoy the cocktails.
All right, it's always something I'm looking for. All right, so you've got a Terramana margarita in front of you then?
Yeah, just a little bit of lime, a little bit of simple syrup. I didn't have any agave with me, so I used that simple syrup.
I've got a little agave real right there.
I know. I gotta come by and grab some. You might know this bottle, eh? This familiar little guy here.
Yeah, that's the bottle I shipped to you when he first came out, right?
This is correct. This is the bottle that you shipped to me, and I really do appreciate that, man. Thank you so much.
No
because
problem.
Of you, I was able to be featured on The Rock, because I had a Terramana. So I got to make some stuff, and he put me on his Instagram 3 times.
Three times,
3 times, man. Yeah. So I do appreciate you sending me that, buddy. It really was a big.
Good. I'm so glad that it worked out. What's your goal with all of that? I know you're always asking The Rock to work out and everything else. What's your goal? What are you trying to achieve there?
To be honest, man, I years ago I started this fitness thing. I went through, like everybody, they go through a bad part in their life, and I just decided, I needed to make some changes, and I needed to grow up and adult and take care of myself.
Right.
So I started focusing on my health, and then along the journey, I just kind of decided maybe I'm going to call it The Rock. Let's see how crazy this can get. Obviously, he hasn't heard from me, but when I found out that he had a tequila company, I was like, hey, wait a second, opportunity. I'm a bit of an influencer with the bar industry, a fitness guy. So maybe there can be some opportunity there. And the goal is to just to work out with the guy, just to say I did. Maybe do some more work with Terramana and just kind of get a little bit of exposure in the industry and show people that, there's more out there than just bartending. You can become an influencer, you become a business owner, you can become an ambassador, but there's definitely more out there than just slinging cocktails, 12-hour shifts, late nights. Just trying to open up some eyes for a lot of people, including a young version of myself who just thought that was bartending. And if you wanted to do anything more, you'd have to open up a bar, but there's other options out there 100%.
Right. And that's exactly what my whole goal of being on social media is. with Behind the Glass, the Sunday night show, and then One Drink With. Um, Behind the Glass is 6 different segments broken down into bar jokes and bar tricks, and I've got magic in there, giving the bartenders something that they can go to their bar with that night and work on. And then, of course, I'll have you on as a guest of Behind the Glass on Sunday, or tonight, actually. Yeah, that's what it's all about. The whole thing is about inspiring younger me and trying to be old dog new tricks. I can't do half of what I used to be able to do, and I'm learning from all of you guys.
Oh man, you started it, brother. Like you put your thumbprint in this industry, which is a huge thing, man. Because like, especially the bartending industry, a lot of people say, it's not a real job and blah blah blah. But you know what? Like you deal behind a busy bar, man. You deal with a lot. You deal with good people. You deal with bad people. You deal with the right. You deal with impatient people.
Right.
You're on the go, man, when it comes to even simple mathematics with change. And it's a very stressful job, especially if you're working in a busy place. And but it's a great job. You know what I mean? You meet a lot of people, the experiences.
The multitasking is just off the charts.
That's all it is. It's not, even if you're working a slow bar, you still got to multitask. It's a great industry, but I feel that a lot of people don't realize that there's a lot of opportunity in this industry. And in order to make it there, you got to put the time in and work on it. And so learn your flair techniques, but learn your cocktails, learn your engagement, learn your speaking, get comfortable with people. Because, there comes a point in the bartending world where you're like, man, 20 years went by like this. Right. What am I going to do? What do I want to do?
Yeah.
And you got to open up those opportunities by putting in that work, right?
I just finished 30 years. Yeah.
But but look what you're doing now. You know what I mean? Like you're not just slinging cocktails behind the bar, and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Oh no,
drink, go for it. But you know what? If you wanted to kind of leave your thumbprint in the industry like you have, then do it. You know what I mean? Create, make history in the industry, right? Be the Dean Serneels of the world.
I want to be the Zack Prohaska. So okay, Zack. Well, tell me, before you started practicing Flair, before you started doing any of this cool stuff that you're doing, what kind of bartender were you prior to starting to invest in your bartending career?
Yeah, man, to be honest, I was a proud bartender. I really liked the industry. My first shift, don't get me wrong, I hated bartending in the beginning. I was a server, but I was a social butterfly. And I showed up to work, and as I was walking in, the day bartender, she quit. And she was walking out past me. She stole all the beer towel handles. She walked past me and she's like, "I'm done with this place." So I walked in. I'm this young guy, and my manager, he's standing there. He's looking at me. He's like, "Dude, get behind the bar. You're working the shift today." And I'm like, "All right." I was terrified.
Just thrown
in. And you know what, man? My first
training by machine gun fire. Yeah.
Oh man, I got weeded like you wouldn't believe. I fell behind the bar my first shift. I didn't know what was going on. My very first drink that I had to make was a CC Manhattan, and this was before smartphones, so I couldn't just Google the answer. I had no bar book. I had to call the night bartender to be like, "Hey, what's a CC Manhattan?" She told me. It got returned because I didn't use the proper measurements.
Right.
But I slowly started to get my grip behind the bar. I got my speed down. It was a busy bar. I lucked out. I got to work in a busy bar my first shift, so I got to adapt, pick up some speed skills. I was young. I was proud. I wanted to be the best bartender. I didn't know anything about Flair. To be honest, I didn't like Flair. I talked a lot of smack about it. I had a guy talk about Flair. And I remember just thinking, when am I going to throw a bottle around, man? I'm busy. Like, what are you doing? Like, you're throwing bottles around, you're down service. But to be honest, I just didn't have the right mindset. I didn't understand how to use Flair, and I hated it. But I worked in an area where there were a lot of bars, and it was a good community. So you knew the bartenders from different areas, and there was always like the top dog bartenders, like that guy's really good, and I wanted to be better than him. I was young, and I wanted to stand out. I saw a video, and I don't remember what it was called, but it was just this bartender. He was taking an order, and it was a live shot. He was working, and there was a beer bottle on top of the bar. And as he was taking an order, he just kind of said, "Okay, I got you." He took the beer bottle, threw it behind the back, and just walked and continued working. And I remember seeing that and being like, man, that was cool. That was really cool. And you know what? If that impressed me, that's going to impress my guests. And if I
Just a
want to be
tiny
the
little move, just that.
that move right there, I can't even like to the normal person out there. Throwing glass around is terrifying. Throwing something
Right.
behind your back,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
it blows their mind, and it blew my mind. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to learn. So I took a small lesson here in Toronto, just learning real basics, like the dominoes and stuff like that.
Right.
But it excited me, and then that led me to you guys, and I went down to St. Catharines and learned from you and Matty Jones.
Matty Jones, he was a huge influence on you, bigger than me, right?
Well, he was like we were closer one on one. You were like the top
Right.
dog, busy guy. You were the celebrity, eh? You know, when you walk in, you go, ooh, there's Dean Serneels, eh? But he was a product of you, right? You taught him, he taught me. And then honestly, man, about a year after that, well, to be honest, right when I started using Flair behind the bar, I started to notice the difference. I started to notice the difference.
That was one of the questions I had for you. Was like I wanted to hear about who you were before you started Flair, and then you started practicing it. You saw the bottle behind your back. I was curious to know what that span of time was from when you actually started to embrace Flair to when you started seeing the results of it.
Man, almost instantly, because
Wow.
you got to remember, I'm also like most bartenders, we're social butterflies. We like to have a conversation with our guests. We enjoy the job, right? So what that was, I was still that bartender, but now I had a different skill set, and I figured out how to properly use it. So like I did a lot of the rookie mistakes too, where I was like throwing around plastic bottles behind the bar and stuff like that. But like it was just
Those damn plastic bottles. Yeah.
Those damn plastic bottles, but hey, they got really good, you know.
Right.
All over the world, man.
Sorry, I didn't
But
want
yeah,
to interrupt
I
you.
noticed that my guests were excited to see it. They were like, "Oh, that's very cool." And then especially when you started to get good at it, right? And there was a difference because you weren't just a good bartender. Now you were a bit of a next level bartender in the eyes of your guests, right? The people that are sitting at the Rock or sitting at the Wood, they're watching you because you know what it's like. You're a bartender. You're a fish in a fishbowl, right? All eyes are on you at all time, right? You're making drinks. You're being watched. If they're not watching the TVs, they're watching you.
Right.
And
if you're doing it right. If you're
What's
doing
that?
it right, you know, I always want to work in a bar that doesn't have TVs because I want to be in control of the evening and in control of people's experiences. And you can't do that when they're just staring at the TV, you know?
Exactly. And if they are just staring at the TV and you're doing a little flip on the side, their eyes go from the TV to you, to the TV to you. You know what I mean? Like, so
if the eyes are on you, you can sell them something.
What's that?
If the eyes are on you, you can sell them something.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
If they're completely disconnected from the evening and they're just staring at the TV all night, it's hard to break in and go, "Hey, can I get you another drink? How about some chicken wings?" But if the conversation is going.
Exactly. And I found that even just with simple Flair techniques, it's a great way to start a conversation without having to start a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, you know this, when you're doing a little something small, and I'm not talking about a routine or a sequence. I mean, just something like a hand spin to a pour, just something like that. It's different than what people are used to. It's flashy, it's fun, and usually your guests will respond to it positively. They'll have questions like, "Where did you learn? Have you ever seen that movie Cocktail? How many bottles have you broken?" But it makes you look like a pro because a lot of these Flair techniques behind the bar, when you're working in a busy bar, they're not difficult to learn, right? You can learn them in minutes, really. It's just getting comfortable and understanding when and how to use them. But once you have that flow, people are looking at you and they're like, "Wow, look at this bartender. The bartender's busy. The bar is busy. He or she is making drinks. They're making good drinks. They're laughing. They're smiling. And they're throwing things around. You look like a pro," right? And that's, in my opinion, that opens up opportunities that's not available to just being, the standard bartender. And I hate saying the standard bartender, but I mean, like, you got to up your skills in every department, right?
You know, I often say that there's bartenders out there that are truly embracing the craft of tending to the bar. And there's other bartenders that would be just as happy working as a janitor in the bar, you know?
Yeah.
Because they just want the job. They're just there to collect a paycheck, and that's where they happen to be. So
I agree.
So,
and I think if you're a bartender and if you're watching this and you have that, like, a little bit of a passion, if you enjoy your job, put a little bit of the time in learning some Flair, but also put in the time in learning some cocktails. You don't want to be I don't want to be known as just a Flair bartender. You know what I mean? I don't want to be known as just a mixologist. I want to be well-rounded enough that I can go into a Flair bar and keep up. I can go into a mixology bar and keep up, or a cocktail bar and keep up. You know what I mean? And as a business owner, when I'm offering my services to the event world, let's say, for example, a wedding, I want to be able to give them a world-class cocktail with world-class garnishes, with some speed too, because if things do get busy, you don't want people waiting. But I also want to be able to entertain. I want those cameras on me. I want people to say, hey, when I went to your wedding, your bartender was awesome. Look what he did. You know, I need that experience. And I don't want to just do that and say, hey, here's your rum and Coke. You know, I want to give them a nice, like a Clover Club or something that's delicious and you give it an experience, right? You want to be the best. And Flair just stands.
Yeah, we're all in the entertainment industry. That's what Travis Tober brought that up. He's like, we're entertainment first and then hospitality. And there's the other part of doing the events like that. When you're well-rounded, you don't know what kind of bar you're walking into, or trainings you might get called on. And when you walk behind the bar of be it a speakeasy or a Flair bar or whatever, within seconds, the bartenders behind the bar know whether or not you've got any credibility whatsoever, whether or not you can hold your own.
100%, 100%. And the thing is, even with Flair too, knowing the level of Flair that you can use behind certain bars. Like if I'm going to a cocktail bar, I'm not juggling 4 bottles behind the bar. It just doesn't fit, right? But to be honest, I don't really juggle 4 bottles behind the bar unless it's a dead night. Or if I'm working at a Flair bar, or if I'm hired as a Flair bartender for an event. But if it's a bit, or if there's a scheduled show, like when I was living in
Japan, if you're doing a showcase behind the bar, you might juggle 4, but it's not like you're going to get an order for a Manhattan and go juggling 4 bottles. You know?
Yeah, give me 15 minutes. I'm just doing a little bit of a pattern here, you know?
There was a day when that's what Flair was, though.
Absolutely. And you know what? When I started, that's what I thought Flair was. I thought, like, wow, you know, I'm going to stop serving this busy bar and start throwing around bottles. And you see bartenders doing it at service bars.
Hey, look at me. Yeah.
Exactly. That's what it is. It's an attention aid. Everybody take a look at me, right? Yeah. But you can still get attention by quick little easy tricks. And I like teaching the easy tricks. I like my students to get results instantly because I don't want them to be thinking about the difficulty level behind the bar because you're already busy. You're serving. You've got people in front of you. You got to run around. You got to change kegs. You know, get changed. Check up on food. I don't want you thinking about if you can land a 4-10-1 bottle. It's got to be quick and simple. You should be able to do it with your eye contact, looking at your guests, not all the time, but like you should be comfortable with it, right? And that's usually the easy stuff. And the easy stuff is very effective, especially when like the behind the back catch. It's not overly hard to learn, but once you get it, people love it, right? It just makes you look like a rock star. And let's face it, we're in the bar scene. It's the party scene. You want your bartender to be a rock star, right? So if you're the bartender, be the rock star. Invest in yourself. Learn all the different disciplines. It doesn't take long. I mean, if you want to be a next level ambassador, then you have to really put a lot of time into learning your product and all the above. But take the time, invest and grow with it, right?
Right. Some of my favorite times, and I'll take a moment for myself, I guess. I used to work the speed bar. It was at Filthy McNasty's, the service bar. I call it the speed bar. And I had, 5 or 6 guests in front of me. So I would have those 6 people plus service bar, and 2 or 3 other bartenders had the rest of the bar. Yeah. But those people would come in just to watch me work service bar. Because when you work Flair into service, and it's about efficiency of movement and knowing that if I catch this here, I've got my hand going here, it just makes it faster. People would come in they'd just sit there and watch me crush service bar.
Exactly.
So much fun.
And you look like a pro. Like people who don't know anything about bartending, they come in to have a drink and they see everybody, running around. Boom. But they watch you and they go, look at this guy. He's throwing bottles around, but he's also crushing the chits on service bar. Like, this guy is a pro.
Yeah, and chit-chatting with the servers as they come in and out and serving them as well. And then I still have this perfect in my mind. This guy would come up, and this back in the day when we smoked in bars. He'd come in every time this guy came in. He had a cigarette burning, and he would hand it to me. And I would take it. I would take a couple of puffs. Thank you very much. And then I'd make it disappear. because he knew that I did magic as well, and that was his night. He just came in to hand me a cigarette, and it was just perfect. Boom, the cigarette's gone, and
And how
yeah.
and how many times did he show up with a friend and be like, "Hey, watch this. Hey, Dean, here's my cigarette."
Yeah. That made him the special partner with all of his buddies. Hey guys, watch this trick, and he handed it to me, and he became the star of his group that night because he could hand the cigarette off, and I got to have a drag of a cigarette behind the bar, which you're not allowed to do, right?
Yeah, man, I remember that, man. I started when I started bartending, smoking was still a thing too, and then it went to the stage where they dropped it. And in my area, because there was a lot of bars there, man, so many bars got hit. Hey, they all closed down.
Oh,
They tried to smoking rooms, but it's funny.
And that legislation changed and changed and changed, kind of like it is with COVID. You don't know what's coming next.
Yeah, it's funny. And also, that brought me actually a memory about the smoking. One of my very first Flair moves that I learned, actually before I started to learn Flair, was I got it from the movie Cox. Remember when he's trying to pick up the lady at the bar, and he's got his matchbook, and he goes,
"Oh yeah."
Yeah, man, that was my first trick, and I got
that was a Matty Jones thing. Matty Jones taught you that because he used to do that all the time.
It's a great trick, man. Well, I mean, if you do it right, I mean, if you do it too hard, it slides into their lap, and you don't want that. But man, it was a cool trick. That was the one thing about the smoking bars that I missed. It was just like that one fancy, like, here's a matchbook lit, and then people would love it. They absolutely would love it. What a man, that was a long time ago, eh? Smoking in bars.
So you have one of my favorite ego stories. Every now and then Travis Tober shared one of my ego stories. I think you know the story that I'm leading to.
Yeah.
Just an event that we did. I'll let you lead it up because I'm going to tee it off to you, and it's all about me.
So this was after I got back from Japan, I believe. So before I went to Japan, I was practicing. I was getting into the competition scene. I went to Japan and I practiced a lot. I got a lot better with the competition Flair. I came back and I had the opportunity to work with you at an event. And I remember being so excited, being like, oh, I'm going to work with Dean, but this time I can keep up because this time I've got all these moves and I can juggle and I'm good and all the above. And I remember we had two portable bars and you were just to the right of me and I was to the left. And we were throwing bottles around and there were cameras on us and everyone was happy. It was a great atmosphere. And I remember being so proud because I was like, man, I'm keeping up with Dean. And then you busted out the magic tricks. I remember, man, everybody in front of me just went and gravitated towards you. And I'm off to the side trying to do my fun stuff, but I couldn't keep up, man, because your engagement was at a next level. It wasn't even that it was just the magic that you were showing. It was just the way you brought them in. And I was jealous by it because that's what I like. You know, I like the attention. I like the show. I like creating the experiences. And I sat off to the side and I watched it. And I was like, I thought I had him, you know. I thought I had him. And you know what? It even happened when we did that event in Niagara together. Remember we did?
Oh yeah, that wasn't too long ago. Because I stole the watch because that's on my YouTube channel too.
Yeah, man, and it blew everyone's minds. And I was sitting there going, and it's a great trick. But I remember just being like, man, like I should have learned like 5-6 years ago. He did this to me, and he's doing it still, you know. But that's what I like to tell people, man. You got to be well-rounded. It's not even it's not even about the flair. Like even a little bit of magic. It's that presence that you give, and it entertains people, and that's what you want because you want people. They want people to gravitate towards you because that's where we're making our money, right? If you're not working behind the bar like we are now, we're getting paid dollars because we can do things that others don't invest in, right?
Right.
When you're behind that bar, like, man, I remember just sitting off to the side. I remember being so disappointed and being like, I'm going to learn magic from now on. And I only learned the one, I always forget the name of it, the London drop or the...
the French drop, yeah. Yeah.
That's
the French drop.
And it works.
It's a moneymaker. Instant moneymaker.
What's that?
It's an instant moneymaker.
It's an instant moneymaker. It's an instant moneymaker. But I would never have known that, man, if I didn't experience that. Because as a young kid, I thought, yeah, I'm at the top of my game. Here I am, Flair bartending, juggle, juggle, juggle. And then I realized that doesn't even compete because Dean Serneels is making people's watches disappear and lemons. And I was like, and I also appreciated that it was a different approach to the guests. You know what I mean? It was like they know you can flip bottles around. They know you can make a great cocktail.
Right.
What else can you do? And I reached my limit, and you just kept going. And I was like, that's the difference between a pro and an amateur, man, is that like, he knows that he's just going to be like, all right, he's got a couple extra tricks that I can't do. And it's not like you're trying to battle each other.
Well, I don't know. That could have been the problem. I might have been looking over going, wow, that kid's got some serious flair. I'm going to break out some magic.
It worked, you know what I mean?
Well,
like,
there's a philosophy to it. Sean Finzer used to tell me, to tell this great story, and I've heard it other places as well, where there was this manufacturing company. I'm going to go on a tangent here for just a second, but this manufacturing company was doing well, and they decided that they were going to change the lighting in the manufacturing facility for whatever reason. They changed the lighting, and production in the factory went up. And then they thought, well, that's kind of weird. Maybe it's because we changed the lighting. And a few months later, they changed the lighting again just as an experiment, and the manufacturing went up again. And then they changed the lighting back to the original lighting, and production went up again. So it wasn't the quality of the lighting, it was the changing of the lighting. It was the changing of the atmosphere. So dialing that back to our conversation is making drinks is one thing. Adding flair, when people are just kind of bored, they've got their drink and they're standing around, hey, I got my drink now. To be able to control the experience to, hey, now we're doing flair, keeps people at the bar. Just when they're ready to walk away, you start throwing bottles around. Oh, well, that's cool. When they've got enough of throwing bottles around, they're about to walk away, you break out a magic trick. And it just keeps people drawing to the bar by constantly changing the lighting. And that's where your well-roundedness of the bartender is so important, that each guest is at the bar having a different experience. And if you can constantly change the lighting for each one of your guests, it's going to keep them at the bar longer and keep them buying drinks from you and buying food from you and just allowing you to control their experience. So.
And I agree. And it keeps more people at the bar. Like some people might not like flair, but they like cocktails. Some people might like magic and they might not like cocktails. You know, they just drink vodka sodas or something. You know what I mean?
And one thing that everybody loves is a crowd.
A crowd, yes.
Right? If there's people cheering over here, whoa, what's going on over there? It's just like being a street performer, trying to get an audience. You have to impress a few people and get them to make some noise and slowly draw it in.
Yeah, and it does help too that you've got a great personality. You know what I mean? You're fun, you're friendly. There's a lot of bartenders out there that are very good flair bartenders, but when they flair, they're like,
right.
You know, there's no smile on their face. It doesn't look like they're enjoying themselves. I always smile. I try to smile because I feel like it makes people feel comfortable. They're like, hey, he's smiling, he's having a good time, so should I, right?
Right.
I used to be like, serious when I was flaring, and until I saw a bunch of pictures or videos of me in the background, I looked like the angry bartender. And then I realized
the cranky flair bartender. Yeah. Right. You can't step back. That was always one of my challenges with running competitions, is that bartenders would be making a drink here, and I mean, they'd just be regular pouring, and then they'd step back and then juggle and do all this stuff, and then come back to the front of the bar to make drinks again. And it was just this separation of the experience.
Yeah, it was a bit weird. And the way kind of flair went, especially when I was learning, the popular style like we were talking about was the sequences and the juggles and all that stuff. So yeah, people were waiting a while for their cocktail. And it was that same, you get your glass, you add the ice, you grab your tin, you step back and you start doing your thing, and then it just wasn't natural. It wasn't natural. And you weren't working with flair, you were just kind of like showing off. And it was a popular thing. And then I'm glad that it's kind of changed now. And it's gone to, a lot of the focus is on the speed and the service and the quality of the cocktail. And the flair is just a bonus. And it's just that one thing that makes you look different than every other bartender out there. And a lot of bartenders don't invest the time into learning just because either there's not someone that trained them that they know that's in the area, or they're intimidated. They don't want to drop and break bottles. I know for me, that was the worst part.
Right.
I'm terrified to throw bottles around behind the bar. Didn't want to break. You don't want to spill, obviously. But that's when it comes to understanding the level of flair that you should be using behind the bar. And I think a lot of people are almost kind of not excited, but they're impressed. They're like, wow, I didn't realize how easy it can be, right? Because it doesn't have to be difficult behind that bar, right? But it's, again, it's that crowd. You want to bring in that crowd, and that's a great feeling, especially if you have that entertainer like mentality. And if you're a bartender, you like the crowd, you like that busy bar. You want people calling your name, you want people shaking your hand. Well, post-COVID, pre-COVID,
Right.
good to see you. You want regulars, because those regulars are what's going to make you money consistently, but you got to take care of them, and you got to you got to be a good bartender, right? And in my opinion, to be a good bartender, you got to be really well-rounded, because if you think you're a good bartender and you're only speed, then you're only a speed bartender, and there's nothing wrong with it. But if you want to look for more opportunity, you got to dabble into all of the disciplines and learn them. You don't have to be amazing at every single one of them, but you should know a little bit, right? A little bit of flair, a little bit of mixology is going to get you farther than not knowing any of it, you know?
Well, that leads us into your MasterClass. You're all over Instagram and TikTok. So how many followers do you have on Instagram right now?
Instagram, I think I'm just shy of 93,000. So I think it's like
3,000. That's a huge commitment. We all know how much work it is to put in to get 93,000. How about TikTok?
It's a full-time job on top of a full-time job. It's crazy.
Yeah. How about TikTok? Where are you at TikTok?
TikTok, I'm at 757,000. The goal is to get 1 million in the next couple months, but we'll see what happens.
Wow, that's so amazing. Can you, like, you're reaching 750,000 people are watching your message.
Yeah, like I said, like, and I think we share the same goal, man. We're just trying to make some more professionals out here, and just showing the world, you know, bartending isn't just bartending. You know, it can be so much more if you put in the work and put in the effort. And in saying that, and learning how to do things properly, and there's a lot of really good influencers out there that are teaching high-end mixology because they want you to have a great cocktail, right? There's a lot of partners out there that are teaching the flair because they want you to be able to entertain. My goal is just to say, hey, if you be well-rounded, learn the basics of everything, and then slowly grow, and then opportunities will come. Because for me, a lot of bartenders I find were like me. They didn't like having a boss, you know, they didn't want to be bartending their whole life, but they love the industry. And I just decided, you know, from my personal experience, I love the industry. I don't want to leave the industry, but I don't want to get stuck in the industry doing the same thing over and over again. So I kind of just took what I knew and worked on it throughout the years, and to see what kind of advantages I can get in this industry. And Flair, personally for me, has done a lot. You know, obviously you want to back it up with a great cocktail, 100%. But like just Flair alone opened up a lot of doors just in the event scene. And for anybody that's watching this, if you have your own mobile company, offering different types of services gives you opportunity to make different types of money, okay? If you're offering just a standard bartending service, which is great, which is super busy, that's great, but you can charge more for a mixologist. And if you have a mixologist, you can charge more for a Flair bartender. And if you have a Flair bartender, you can charge a lot more for a Flair bartending mixologist that can do standard bartending. You know what I mean? You're offering a professional service, and people will pay for it, especially the ones that have that money. So for anyone that's bartending, if you're doing your events, put the time in and learn, because more money in your pocket's a good thing, right?
Well, let me ask you this question then, straight out. In an average, if I'm an events company and I'm hiring out standard bartenders versus the Flair guy versus the mixologist, and knowing that the Flair guy doesn't have to be a competitive Flair guy, he only needs to know like 5 tricks and maybe a 1-minute show. What is the difference of price? Is there a percentage, or is it an extra $100 or an extra $500? How does this?
It's huge. It's huge. Okay, so if you're being paid as a Flair bartender, you can make anywhere between $30 to $40 more an hour than a standard bartender. You can be paid maybe $25 more than a mixologist an hour. If you're doing your own thing, man, you can charge. Sky's the limit, man. Like, for example, like a standard bartender, I don't even, it's like $25 an hour. And then obviously you'll take your cut as a business owner. But yeah, you can, it's so much more money. Like, without going into actual numbers.
Right. How about percentages? Let's talk percentages then. if the $25 per hour is the 100% of what you're going to get if you're just showing up as a bartender, let's multiply that by whatever percentage if you're a Flair person.
You're man. If you're doing it on your own, you're making anywhere. You can make $150 an hour as a Flair bartender. As a standard bartender, you can charge about $20 to $30 an hour. As a bartender, you're probably making $20 an hour. But as a Flair bartender, you can be making, if someone's hired you out, you can be making $50 an hour, $100 an hour. If you're making your own, if you're your own business owner or whatever, you can charge a huge lump sum. So you can be making $600 a night for working 4 hours. So 4 hours, $600 a night, and you're working in an event where there's like maybe 40 people, maybe 100 people. But the thing is, for a bartender, people have the understanding that they're there for the show. So you're not really necessarily pushed to be rush, because they're here for the show. They want to film you. They want the experience, and that's what they're paying for, right? If they want just a cocktail, usually in a lot of events, they can go to other bars. And there'll be different services, but I'll be the Flair bar, for example, and that's what they're paying, right? And the money is a lot different, even just for virtual events. Like for me to charge for a virtual event where I'm just doing standard mixology, I can charge anywhere between $300 to $400, right? And it depending, I'm a little bit luckier because I have a bit of a following, so I can kind of add that to my...
It certainly changes the influence of your income because of the following and all the effort that you've put into creating that, for sure.
Exactly, credibility. But when you're adding that flair, you can add so much more because they're not just paying for the cocktail. They're paying for the person that's practicing and putting the time into showing their tricks. And again, for anyone out there that's doing this, just like you said, you don't have to be a world champion Flair bartender. You don't even have to know how to juggle. You just have to know a few basics that other bartenders are not, and you can charge a lot more for it, right? And well deserved, because you're putting in that time, you're putting in the effort into learning, and you're putting yourself out there in front of your guests saying, yes, I can provide Flair bartending services. And just don't tell your guests that you learned a lot of these tricks in 20 minutes, right? You want to make them think that you're
yeah, they don't need to know that.
Exactly. But then if you're already got a Flair background, yeah, charge. Put as much money on that invoice as you can, right? Because a lot of these companies, especially the corporate companies or people that have these high-end weddings and parties, they want the best and they're willing to pay for it. So you got to put yourself out there and show them that you have that skill set and you're worth every dollar, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I both know we've been paid thousands of dollars for the same effort that we put in for hundreds of dollars the night before. All depends on what event you're getting to.
I agree, man. I've worked in bars where I've worked 12-hour shifts on my feet, busy people running back and forth, changing kegs, all the above. And I've worked events where I've worked 3 hours and made 3 times as much money. You know what I mean? And it's a lot less stress. I'm not dealing with money. I'm not dealing with the kitchen. I'm not changing kegs. I'm literally working with a pretty standard bar menu. Maybe it's an open bar with a couple nice cocktails. I'm in my comfort zone. I'm enjoying myself. I can engage with the guests. I have a good time. And I'm getting paid more money and working less hours, which I think is probably the best option, right? Like,
right. Isn't that what we're all striving for? All right.
Yeah.
You've been working on your MasterClass, and I want to run a video here of you introducing the MasterClass, because every single word of this video is exactly what I'm trying to do with Behind the Glass and One Drink With. My show's on YouTube. So let's watch this, and I'd like to hear about your MasterClass. If I'm a guy getting into, or a girl getting into, wanting to improve myself as a bartender, this, I think, is the best way to do it. Here we go.
People come to the bar all the time and they'll tell you that they're a bartender. You know, every bartender wants to tell the other bartender that they're a bartender. And every time that happens to me, every single time, I'll make a drink with a little bit of flair. Nothing too showy, just enough to grab their attention. What's the first thing they say? Oh, I bartend, but I can't bartend like you, though. Everybody's making cocktails. Everybody's making good cocktails. Everybody's quick. But if you can stand out just a little bit more, it's next level, 100%. I've been able to travel all over the world. I've been able to compete all over the world. I've been in commercials, music videos, TV shows. I've done so much because I've been able to take Flair into my career and upgrade my career. And so when people talk about anxiety, I get it, I had it, but you just keep doing it and you get better at it. Now I can go up in front of 5,000 people and I don't even care. Like, it just doesn't bother me. So it just takes your whole mindset to a next level, because you're the confidence that you get in yourself, because you know what you're doing on stage, you know what you're doing behind the bar. The people that are watching you, they think it's difficult, but you know what you're doing. You've done it 1,000 times. I don't think I would even be where I am without it, right? 100%. It's a game changer. It really is.
I'm wiping a tear. It's so touching.
Man, I had such a skinny face in that video. Jeez.
That
Damn,
video is
COVID-19.
just, oh, it's just so perfect. It's heart touching, and the music and the story, and it's just everything that I'm working on as well. And I want you to tell us about your masterclass, because I want to take it. I've been doing this for a long time. I would love to take your masterclass and learn it all. Tell me about your masterclass, sir.
All right, so my masterclass is just it's a list of tutorials to kind of give you the best results as fast as possible, right? So a lot of people, it's all based on my experience and all the mistakes that I've made trying to learn how to throw bottles around. My goal is this: if you want to get into flair bartending, or if you just want to add a little bit of flair to your career, this is the way to go, because everything that's in the masterclass is, one, it's easy to learn. That's what you want. I don't want you spending hours and hours and hours a day practicing stuff that you're not going to use behind the bar. It's not focused for competitions. It's focused for bartending, right? So what I call it bar flair techniques, okay? So it's a bit of a mix of your exhibition flair or your show flair, your working flair, but how to use it behind a busy bar or a slow bar, but behind a bar, not necessarily on stage, because on stage is obviously a little bit different. So my goal is just to give you results, no matter how clumsy you are, because I am extremely clumsy. So if I can do it, anyone can. And I just picked a bunch of lessons that can help you build confidence behind that bar without breaking, without dropping, what to do, how to avoid all these rookie mistakes. Like, you can go on YouTube and watch all these videos, but how do you know what works? And I just kind of show you what works, what's worked for me, and how to really kind of like stand out behind that bar, right? Because I understand that the hard part about throwing bottles around is the fear of dropping, the fear of spilling, and the fear of looking like a dummy, right? Like, people being like, oh, this guy's throwing bottles around, he's not even good at it. So it's a bunch of moves, it's a bunch of techniques of how to properly use it, and how to kind of build confidence, how to practice it. And it's also a bunch of different strategies in there as well to avoid freestyling behind the bar, because I remember I got decent at flair before I got a job in Japan, and I had this one guy show up and he sat at the bar and he was about a 45-minute drive away, and he's like, hey, you're the Canadian flair bartender. I wanted to come see you, because he was a flair bartender. And he's like, can you please make me a Long Island iced tea? And I remember being terrified, being like, oh my gosh, he's a flair bartender. I'm going to drop. I'm going to look bad. I'm going to spill. And I actually didn't even flair for the guy. I just and I just made him the drink normally, and then I started talking to him. But it's because I just didn't know what to do. I was really good with a plastic bottle, but I wasn't really good with a bottle that was full or half full. So pretty much my masterclass is just to teach you how to use these techniques behind the bar, how to get you started, and also to let people understand, when you're watching flair bartending on YouTube or on social media, and you're seeing all of these crazy tricks, when you're bartending behind the bar, even the best of the best, if it's a busy bar, the best of the best has to bring their skill level down, all right? It has to bring it to a working flair a style, okay? Right. Because if he's doing a 4-bottle, like we talked about, a 4-bottle behind a busy bar, they're doing it wrong, because service and speed comes first. The flair is a bonus. So if you have somebody who's an amazing flair bartender working a busy bar, they bring their skill level down. And if you have somebody who's a beginner flair bartender that knows the basics of my masterclass, you guys are working at the same level. right? Nobody's better than the other unless the other guy wants to show off and do like a cool multiplex, but that's not going to happen because service comes first. So it brings you up to that level of a working Flair bartender behind the bar. And it's all tried and tested, and the results are quick. All my students are like, they send me videos all the time, and they're like, look what I can do. They're throwing half full to full bottles in their kitchen, just showing me what they can do. No mats on the ground because it's all basic, easy things that they can do that looks good and impresses their guests. And then I just kind of give them a strategy on how to use it behind the bar, how to practice building confidence, because it does build confidence. You're scared in the beginning, but then you sit down with a regular or a friend that just finished their shift and they're sitting at the bar and you say, hey Dean, I want to show you this little pour that I learned from the MasterClass. Let me know what you think. Right? And then you practice it, and then you see their expression. They go, oh, wow, that looks really cool. And then you start to feel a little bit more confident. You're like, okay, well, if he likes it, I'll try it with another friend or maybe a regular. And then it gets to the point where it's so easy for you that you're doing it in the middle of a rush. You're talking, you're having a good time. It's all simple, easy techniques to give you, to make you look like a polished professional. You know what I mean? Like, just like I said in that video, bartenders will always tell you that they're a bartender until you do one thing that's a little bit different. And it could be a cool cocktail as well, but you do something that stands out, then they start to realize, hey, you know what? I bartend, but I'm not at your level, right? But they just don't realize that it doesn't take that long to get to that level because you don't need to juggle 5 bottles behind the bar. You just need to practice a few simple techniques, and then you start to incorporate them with the flow of your work, and next thing you know, you look like a next level bartender. And that's my goal. Give the people opportunities, show them what works, show them what doesn't work, and fingers crossed they have some fun stories to share with their friends and family and their regulars.
That's so fantastic. I'm so glad that you're doing that. I know that YouTube and Instagram, I guess, are just so full of just all kinds of different people doing videos and training. Yeah, just to have that tip of the spear by attending your class would give me the tip of the spear so that I can be focused on exactly what my goal is and to get out there and become just a better bartender in general.
Exactly. And with my masterclass, like I tell everyone, my goal is not to make you a real professional Flair bartender. My goal is to make you stand out behind the bar so you can get tips, so you can look like a polished professional. But and you know this, and I know this as being competitive Flair bartenders, the amount of time and hours that you have to put in to be a competitor is huge. 6 hours a day, 8 hours a day.
Yeah. But people have used that to get out of war-torn countries and to move from whatever country to the United States and Canada and Japan. You spent time in Japan. So by putting in that time, you can actually travel around the world and change your future. And that's really what this is all about. Show me where I can find you online.
I'm sorry?
Tell me where I can find you online. Here's your social media. Did you get it all right?
My main website is www.cdbartending.com. That's for virtual events, online training, regular events when that becomes a thing, training behind the bar at my school here, and online training. There's a link, but if you want to look just for my masterclass, it's www.cdmasterclass.com. And again, it's just a bunch of tutorials that's going to lead you in the right direction. And if you practice, if you put in the time, you can be really good at it within, honestly, a couple of weeks. Some of my students have gotten so good that it's like, there's no way. You're like, really? Like, there's no way you're that good if you didn't know, you know what I mean? And I'm not trying to sound conceited with the training. I just, like I said, not everything has to be difficult. If you've got a very basic hand-eye coordination, if you're super clumsy like me, you can look really good in a matter of weeks if you put a little bit of time in it. And the stuff behind the bar is effective, it's simple, and it'll impress. And that's what it's about. It's about making you look like a polished professional and opening up those opportunities and just knowing where your level of Flair skill is, right? So you're not trying something behind the bar, like just hoping you land the move. You know, you want to be able to do it with confidence. So that's what I've done. I've just picked and chosen some techniques and taught people how to do routines and when to use a routine and when to use a sequence, how to build confidence, what to do if you've got an expensive bottle or an awkward shaped bottle, or if you're on a bar.
Sounds like you cover quite a bit of it. You got it all.
For my students.
Good. So we've got a direction for anybody who wants to take their bartending to the next level. cdmasterclass.com. Is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
All right, and I'll put that on the thing as well. We're going to reach out to The Rock. I'm going to call him tomorrow. No, I'm not. But we'll get you on there. We got to get you working out with The Rock, my friend.
Hey, it's going to happen. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. It's just going to take, honestly, once this COVID world lightens up a little bit and things get back to normal, if it ever does,
right.
It will happen. I promise you. I'm going to try my best.
We're talking about doing the Roaring 22s already.
The Roaring 22s already.
Roaring 22s. We're thinking that the world is going to be not ready to party again until 22. So.
Well, then I'm going to stick to this virtual event life because it's a bit easy on my end.
Yeah, it sounds like you're rocking it, for lack of better words. How many days at the gym have you been?
Today is going to be 1239.
1239 days in a row.
My math is correct, yeah. So I started September 1st of 2017 and I haven't missed a day yet. Well, I mean, I haven't missed a day, but I from September 1st, I went to the gym. I only worked out at the gym, not home workouts, not outside.
Right.
I went to a gym every day for 935 days. And then COVID closed all the gyms. And then I started working out at my studio and working out at my home to keep consistent. And I'm kind of thankful for that, to be honest, because it's actually not bad to work out at home sometimes to get a little bit of exercise on a lazier day.
Right.
But I'm not going to lie, I miss the gym. I miss the weights. I've become this weird gym guy, and I'm happy that I've got it in my life.
Well, you've done a fantastic job of it. You've even gone live as a fitness. Very quickly, tell me that story where you were on stage as a bodybuilder.
Yeah, I got into a bodybuilding competition. I started competing in natural bodybuilding competitions, and it was the funniest thing, man. Like my posing coach, right? He's like, man, you gotta practice because you're gonna get on stage and you have 1 minute to like show off all of your posing, and you don't want to forget, you don't want to get lost. And I'm sitting there smiling. I'm like, man, you're saying I've got to get on stage for 1 minute and flex my muscles. I mean, like what I'm used to is getting on stage for 5 to 7 minutes and make 2 cocktails and throwing bottles around, trying not to drop, trying to smile,
all in sequence in a memorized sequence of Flair moves for 7 minutes.
Yeah. So I had a man. People were there, and a lot of the guys there. It's a great competition. It was a lot of fun. A lot of the guys were super nervous, and man, I was like ready. I'm like, let's do this. Like I can't wait. And when I went out on stage, I acted like a Flair bartender. Right? I went out there and I was like, come on, everybody. And I started clapping. And I'll be honest, man, I had the crowd. That was my goal. I wanted people to sing along. I wanted them to have a good time. Everybody else, not that there was anything against it, but they were very artistic and the music was great. And I went out there and I did a remix of Sitting at the Dock of the Bay, and I had a great time, and people were clapping, and it was a different level. After the competition, I went into the lobby, and people came up to me, and they're like, man, you were so much fun to watch. And honestly, it was all my Flair bartending personality on stage, minus the bottles and minus the clothes.
Isn't that funny? It's so funny. I love to watch how experienced Flair bartenders use the skills that we learn behind the bar and in practicing Flair elsewhere. And this is just one of those really cool extreme stories. You on stage flexing.
Yeah, man, it's exactly what it was. Flair bartending, bartending in general definitely helps with your confidence, right. But Flair bartending pushes it a little bit to the next level because you're in front of people and you're throwing things around and it's a bit scary.
Right, you got to catch them.
You got to catch them, right? Gravity is a tough enemy on our end. Yeah. If you drop, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, there's no hiding it. You can't hide a drop. So,
exactly.
All right, cool, man. My drink is just about done. Thank you very much. It was a fabulous conversation as always. And I hope that I can actually come up to Canada and sit in the real Toronto. And hang out with you in the not too distant future.
Well, hey, man, you're always welcome to come by. We love you. You know that.
I want to wrap it up, but I want to hear one message from you to The Rock.
Hey, Rock, let's work out. Terramana, do you need a bartender? That's the one thing that I've been posting on all of my videos. Trying to get his attention, but Rock, it's going to happen 100%. You also, this is actually what I want to tell The Rock as well. if we get the chance to work out, let me buy the sushi afterwards, the post-workout sushi. He may be able to lift more weights than me, but I can guarantee that I can eat more sushi than him. 100%.
The challenge is on. Zack Prohaska. And Zack Prohaska. And Zack Prohaska. Zack Prohaska has challenged The Rock to a sushi eating after the workout. So good stuff, man. I look forward to that, and if I can help anyway, I'm gonna do my best. So cool.
Good. Hey, you've already helped a lot, man. You've got me his bottles, and because of you, I got onto his Instagram, and I've got contacts with Terramana now. So I do really appreciate that, buddy. This is a super big help from you. So thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Zack Prohaska. Thank you very much, Zack. Great conversation as always.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you so much.
All right, that's One Drink with Zack Prohaska, ladies and gentlemen. Next week we are going to have Phil Wills on the show. Phil Wills from Bar Rescue, and he's got a great consulting company. He's very busy doing all kinds of really wonderful things for the industry. Phil Wills on One Drink with next week.